Good evening, City of Wilmington. This meeting is now called to order. This is the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee meeting of February the 8th, 2024. I am Councilmember Brigida Fields, 5th District. At this time, I will call the roll for those members of the committee first. Maria D. Cabrera, Chair, absent with leave. Nathan Field, Vice Chair. Shanae N. Darby, absent with leave. I'm here. Councilwoman Yolanda McCoy. Councilmember James Spadola. Okay, absent with leave. Councilman Vincent M. White.
Present.
Council President Trippy Congo. Okay.
Councilman Field is here, he just isn't speaking, but we need him for the quorum.
Okay. So we need to wait, right? Council Member Field, Nathan Field,
Present.
thank you. Now we do have a quorum. Okay. Are there any other council members on the line that are not a part of the committee? Thank you. As a friendly reminder, only members of the committee should be making motions and seconding. The agenda as is follows. The first ordinance is an ordinance to amend Chapter 48 of the City Code to revise the height, floor area ratio, and building coverage ratio requirements for the W3 Waterfront Low Intensity Manufacturing Commercial Recreation Zoning District. Sponsor, Councilwoman Oliver. Will anybody be here to speak to that?
Yes.
Okay. Will you also be speaking to the second ordinance as well?
Yes, actually, with the chair's consent, I would like to address both of these ordinances in the same presentation.
You may do so. Thank you. You have a question? I'm sorry.
I have a PowerPoint to present.
Okay. Can you, for one moment, can you just introduce who you are?
Yes, I
Okay,
was just waiting for the
okay,
PowerPoint
thank
to
you.
come up. Thank you. Good evening. I am Gwyneth Kaminsky with the Land Use and Planning Department. May I have the next slide, please? The first slide, I beg your pardon. Thank you. The purpose of the first ordinance, which is ordinance 24-004, is to revise the height, floor area ratio, and building coverage ratio values for the W3 waterfront district. W3 allows for low-intensity manufacturing and commercial recreation uses and currently covers about half of the East 7th Street Peninsula. Unfortunately, the district has not been successful in encouraging development because it is very restrictive when it comes to the allowable height, floor area, and building coverage ratios, which limits flexibility, and often developers must go before the Zoning Board of Adjustment for relief from these restrictions in order to be able to build on their land. Next slide, please. As shown in this chart, the W3 limits building height to 35 feet. This is less than half the height permitted in the other waterfront zones. W3 also has a floor area ratio of 0.25 compared to W1 and W2 zoning, which is 2.0, and a range of 0.8 to 2 in the W4.
Can we just pause for one moment? I would like to recognize President Congo.
Thank you.
The floor area ratio represents the gross floor area of all buildings divided by the area of the lot. The building coverage ratio is also 0.25, which allows only a quarter of a development site to be built upon, compared to 0.6 in W1 and W2 and 0.4 to 0.5 in the W4 zone. This is about half of what is allowed in the other districts. The W3 regulations are proposed to be revised to lessen these restrictions to make the W3 district more developer-friendly. Next slide. This slide shows the changes being proposed, which are shown in red in the right-hand column. The height would be increased to 6 stories and 72 feet, which is identical to the other waterfront zones. The floor area ratio is increased to 2, also comparable to the other zones. And the building coverage ratio is increased to 0.6, which is the same as the W1 and W2 zones, which allow similar uses as the W3 zone. These changes to W3's building restrictions make the district more competitive and will lessen the need to seek ZBA relief to be able to build on a property. Next slide, please. The second ordinance on the agenda, 24-005, addresses a rezoning request that the city received from 1188 East 7th Street LLC, also known as B&M Meats, which owns 3 contiguous parcels of land along East 7th Street. As shown on this slide, 2 of these parcels are zoned W3, which is consistent with the zoning surrounding the site, and the third parcel is zoned W4. Next slide, please. The developer originally wanted to rezone all 3 parcels to W2, which is a more intensive waterfront manufacturing commercial district, in order to establish a processing facility to repackage and prepare goods for distribution to wholesalers and retailers. This was not ideal, as it would create an isolated W2 district on the eastern end of the peninsula and would allow far more intensive and undesirable uses than permitted in the existing W3 zoning district, potentially changing the character of the area. Given the changes proposed to the W3 building regulations that I just reviewed, the Planning Division proposed an alternative zoning scenario in which the 2 W3 parcels would be retained and the W4 parcel would be rezoned to W3. The entire development site can now be developed under W3 since the proposed processing facility is permitted in W3, and this would preserve the character of the eastern end of the peninsula. Next slide, please. This slide shows the current rezoning request, which is to rezone the W4 parcel to W3, consistent with the other 2 development parcels in surrounding area. With the changes being proposed to the W3 district regulations under the first ordinance, the company will be able to develop their 3 contiguous parcels in a manner consistent with other light manufacturing uses in the immediate area without needing a more intensive zoning category. Next slide, please. The proposed W3 zoning is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, with the east side future land use map showing waterfront mixed commercial light manufacturing use, land use, for the area being rezoned. Next slide, please. The rezoning of 1195 East 7th Street serves to eliminate the W4 zoning on an isolated parcel at the east end of East 7th Street. And I would note that there's been little interest in developing this W4 parcel in the past. It also brings the 3 development parcels under W3 zoning for consistency. It expands the larger W3 district to the north and west, which occupies over half the peninsula, and the rezoning area is suitable for low-intensity developments permitted under W3, like the one being proposed by B&M Meats. This rezoning does not create any negative impacts on the rezoning site, as the parcel in question is unimproved vacant land. The proposed use is permitted under the proposed zoning, and all new future development on the parcels will be consistent with the surrounding area and required to conform to the W3 regulations moving forward. Next, we have a few photos. Next slide, please. This is a picture of the W4 parcel looking northeast, along with a picture of the rest of the vacant development site, noting that the site is currently vacant and unimproved. Next slide, please. This is another view of the development site looking northwest, with the Pine Box Studio and Light Action Productions buildings in the background. Both of those buildings actually required zoning board of adjustment relief from the existing W3 building coverage, FAR, and height requirements in order to build. Next slide, please. The W3 district surrounding the development site also includes a solar power farm, general and roofing contractors, Brightfields Environmental Consultants, and Tri-State Carpet, and Tri-State also required zoning board of adjustment relief in order to build. Next slide, please.
While you're on that subject, did Pine Box also require zoning?
Yes.
Thank you.
At their public hearing in November 2023, the Planning Commission recommended to City Council that both the W3 text amendments and the rezoning be approved. In summary, the changes to the W3 building regulations create a more flexible district and allows development without the need for zoning board relief from strict development regulations. And the rezoning of 1195 East 7th Street to W3 will provide the opportunity to support the applicant's proposed development, which is a permitted use and consistent with other established uses within the broader W3 district. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. I would just like to acknowledge Councilwoman Xanthia Oliver and also our CFO, Marshall Beth Knight. Are there any questions from members of council? Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes, ma'am. I'd just like to say that I've been out to the site. I've met with the owners. I think this is a good thing for that particular area, and I have my full support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Councilmember White?
Just for clarity, all of the other requirements, setbacks, environmental issues would be maintained under the reclassification?
Yeah, the changes to the text amendments only address FAR, building coverage, and height, and then the rezoning only addresses the one parcel, which will become W3, consistent with the surroundings.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, are there any council members online that would like to ask any questions? Okay, do we have anyone in the audience that would like to ask questions? Okay. Is there a notion to move this out of committee? Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Is there a motion to move out of committee this ordinance?
Yes, Madam Chair, motion made.
I need a second.
Second.
Say that again. She said second. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, thank you.
Councilwoman
Yeah, but she's on the, oh, no, she can't. I had to say, you can't because you're, not on the committee. President?
Nathan did.
Thank you, Councilman Field. Okay, it has been properly moved and second, the ordinance will be moved out of committee.
Madam Chair, if you could say the
Say both of them at the same time? One at a time, okay, I'm sorry. All right,
Madam Chair, I make a motion to move ordinance number 0389 out of committee. 24004 out of committee.
yes,
So moved.
thank you. And, also I need to make a motion to get ordinance 24005 0390. Oh, 24005.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to remove ordinance 24005 out of committee.
Second.
Thank you. Both ordinance have been moved out of committee to go to, city council meeting, and which will be held on February 15th, 2024. Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there an, well, first of all, thank you very much for attending. I'd like to thank all the council members for attending today's meeting. Also, the next, Community Development and, Community and Urban Planning Committee meeting will be, held Thursday, March the 21st, 2024. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Madam Chief.
Yes,
Yeah, I might have missed it. I apologize. Did we vote that out of committee? Or it didn't have to be voted out?
yes, it was voted out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, thank you all so much for coming. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you.